Hey guys, Boris here. The new set is live on PB. I know many of you are eager to learn all about it. Therefore, in place of the daily VOD review, today I will be bringing you a little bit of a different video. I'll be talking about the 5 things that you can do to learn the new set as fast as possible that I implement myself and have picked up by studying the best players there are. The first point is to attentively observe the units in combat. This is something that Dishtop always preaches as something that has helped him to learn the new sets, is by being engaged when the combat phase is happening, seeing how the units interact with other units, how their abilities work, and from these observations you're going to be able to draw which are good utility carriers, what kind of item builds you might want to be looking out for units, and what is going to make good board strength. This is going to go for all stages. You're going to be able to evaluate what the strongest board is later on and make your deductions from there. Also, this is going to tie together with noting what potential utility carriers there are. For this purpose, I myself have made a little sheet here. I believe that I've listed most of the utility carriers here, as well as the crowd control sources, as for example, Samira is a unit that is going to shoot someone that is always going to be knocked up, and knowing which units can stun so that you can place them in front of the potential enemy main carries is going to be vital for your success when it comes to the late game positioning. The second point, after you've made your observations of their units, understood their abilities, is to work on their itemization. For those who might yet not be aware, there are PB stats for units. Something like Meta TFT is gathering the pool of data for the possible itemizations. For example, if you're going to select a Kindred here, there already are selected suggested item builds. I believe Tactics Tools offers a similar thing a little bit later on. Therefore, for this purpose, I have made my own sheet where I'm going to be noting out the main items for our carries and also not forgetting tanks later on. Take this with a grain of salt, the stats particularly at the moment, since people are experimenting with different item builds and we're still trying to interpret these abilities as best as we can, but this is again where your observations and the tooltip is going to help immensely, because in this set, since you cannot basically guarantee a component from a carousel, obviously from a lost streak you're going to get component anvils. However, in my experience I've gotten burned a couple of times. You want to be playing into the carrier that your item's direction suggests. And obviously do not forget about early game units. What makes a strong board early game is your ability to be able to itemize your early game carriers and from there decide what potential 3 cost, 3 roll, 4 cost or fast 9 boards these items can play into. Therefore, a sheet is a strongly suggested thing that is going to allow you to also make some extra notes, note some artifacts along the way, so that when you put them out, you do not have to go on the stats side during the game. And these sheets that I'm showing right now, I'm going to be making them public once the set goes live, and after I've adjusted some of the formatting things, and I'm going to try to keep them up to date throughout the set as much as I possibly can. The third point is something that I like to call unit links, and what I mean by that is the best example can be taken from an opener. Say you have something like a 2-star Poppy. Now, you know that obviously an Aatrox is going to synergize it, but if you do not yet have an Aatrox in your shop, but you can think, okay, so your Poppy is going to synergize with Meeple and Bastion units. Bastions is our Aatrox, therefore I should probably hold on to this Caitlyn or an Akali that I can potentially playing into some kind of a Nova opener. And it goes the other way. If I have an Aatrox too and do not have yet a Poppy, I can be holding on to any potential Meeple units here. Something like a Meepsy or a Gnar can potentially start making me an opener that I can be playing towards into. Now, tying further into this point, the ones that are crucial are the 3 trait units. Here I've pulled out all the 1, 2 and 3 cost 3 trait units, as these link the boards together quite well. We have Briar that can link with any kind of primordial units obviously, but has synergies with any kind of rogue units that you can play, be it your Fizzes, who else we have? Talon. Yeah, we have Talon, Gwen. You can definitely link together, so if you see a Briar, you can think already of Gwen. Think of any kind of Space Groove unit as well if you see them in the shop, or a Talon, and then think about Stargazers as well. And this goes for knowing how to link to your board together, especially for that mid-game part. Another exercise that you can do is, obviously here messing with any kind of openers is quite interesting to do for yourself. For example, you can have Nezreal, then we know that we have some kind of a sniper, and we know that Ezreal, the Timebreaker here as an eco regeneration is quite good, so therefore we would probably want some form of a brawler. We can have that here, for example. Then we can look what else other units can be synergized, something like Poisonic. And we have cooked up some form of a still level 5 board. Obviously opener stats are going to be coming out later on, but simply playing with these when you have some free time is quite good, as it's going to establish these links in your brain. Another exercise that you can do is by simply going through the 3 costs, especially carries. For example, let's say we get dropped something like a Kai'Sa. As when you get the 3 cost orb, Kai'Sa is a reroll that I can be definitely playing into, so what kind of opener I could be making around her? Now, obviously 2 Darkstar is extremely strong at the moment, so we could be playing already around Mordekaiser, but if I see Kai'Sa, then in my shop, my drawer, I should already be thinking, okay, I would probably want to play around Mordekaiser, therefore some kind of Vanguard units such as Nasus or a Leona could be worthwhile to hold on to as I go, and a Rogue unit as well, therefore we can naturally pick something like a Gwen, and now we have already made ourselves a level 4 board, and with this we can already look for an either Channeler or an Arbiter, and that Zoe is going to complete that, and we have a perfect trait web level 5 board. That should be quite strong if we're able to start something like Leona. Therefore we see Kai'Sa, we hold on to Leona, or potentially Zoe as well, and we are able to secure a strong early and mid game for ourselves, and then we can transition this into something like a Rogue reroll, something more around AP oriented, for example perhaps even into Karma carry if we are able to carry that Zoe. Next up, we have familiarize yourself with the new augments and the set mechanic. For the set mechanic, obviously we want to be taking on the carousel rounds what is God offers us the best link for our spot, unless we are in a spot to greed, but we want to make sure that by 4-7 we have aligned ourselves with the God that is going to be best for our comp. Therefore, whenever you're playing, you do not want to be having to look up, you want to minimize the time you're spending on your second monitor or it's alt-tabbing, and making sure that you already know the direction you're going to be going with your God, and which one of the two you should be aligning yourselves with. And for augments, this is PBE, you can try back A stuff without any consequences. Therefore, try out all the new augments that are offered, try out the new hero augments, play with them, see what potential boards they can build into, again, what items they can work, or some of the more wacky ones. We do not currently have ones, but for example, something like what one of my favorites here is the Expedition 33 augment. Obviously in reference to Clair Obscure, one of the best games to be made in this decade. But you want to be making sure that you familiarize yourself with at what point I might be having sacrificed this 33 gold. Obviously this augment is going to be good in gold starts when we have that extra econ to be using. Is this good from loss streak? Is the reward sufficient enough? And at what pace should I be sacrificing these units in order to cash out this whenever I need to spike? This is something you could obviously do on pen and paper. However, playing it in game is just going to give you a lot better feeling of understanding. Therefore, just go through these augments. We know that some of these are returns. However, something like a cosmic restart obviously seems random, seems basic, but unless you've been in a spot to click it before, you might be deferred from doing it when you're doing your rank climb. Therefore, familiarizing yourself with all the new things that are coming in is quite interesting. For example, also may the force be with you, how to cook up a 4-cost board. Obviously, at some point we have decided some cookie cutter version, but this is PB. Go out there and try it out. And for the last point, simply have fun. Cook. There's no best way to learn these things without having fun, playing into these games, hopping in there, finding some kind of item, some kind of unit you think this might work on, going into the team planner and simply mapping out a board that you think might work. This is going to establish your unit links. This is also going to allow you to test different kinds of itemizations, see what augments you think might be the best spot for you. Same with the gods. Simply by trial and error and while having fun, you're going to establish all these learnings the best. Simply play attentively, play mindfully, think about your decisions, and in that way you're going to become better for when the rank climb starts. To summarize, observe the units in combat to interpret their abilities and how they synergize with the other units and the board strength, understand the itemization, what potential paths your early components can lead you down to, work on your unit links in order to synergize good early and mid-game boards, try out new augments and set mechanic, familiarize yourself with all the new content that way, do not be afraid to test things as there's no repercussions in PvE, and last but not least, have fun and cook. This is PvE, this is for exploration in order so that you can get familiar with all the concepts that I've mentioned. Now, I would like to hear from you. If you have any suggestions of how we can learn the new set the best, please let me know down in the comments below. I will be making all the sheets that I've shown public. I will be complementing them with the comp cheat sheets that I will be updating as new comps roll out and as the set goes live. This is going to be made public through my X and as well as descriptions in the videos that I've been making then. If you're watching this during the Eastern holidays, there's quite some chance you might catch me live on my Twitch. I'll be putting up the stream schedule on screen right now. Otherwise, my usual stream schedule is going to be down in the description below. I would like to thank you for watching and I hope that you found this useful, and I wish to see you in the next one. Have a good one.